U.S. to move to second stage of Russia sanctions. Ukraine hit by largest air attack. Japan faces instability after Prime Minister Ishiba resigns. Adding value to raw materials for deep processing.
Hello, so good to see you again in today's news by Nghệ An Press and Broadcasting Agency. Here we go, the first headline of the show. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that Washington is ready to move to the second phase of sanctions against Russia as the conflict in Ukraine shows no signs of de-escalation despite his diplomatic efforts.
Well, he's a different kind of a guy. He's got a lot of good...
The statement was made to reporters before boarding a helicopter on the White House lawn. But Trump did not disclose details of the new sanctions. On the same day, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the U.S. and EU are working together to increase pressure on Moscow, emphasizing that measures like secondary sanctions and tariffs on countries buying Russian oil could collapse Russia's economy. The announcement came just a day after Russia launched its largest air assault on Ukraine since the start of conflict, using over 800 drones and 13 missiles to strike multiple targets, including the capital, Kyiv. Ukrainian authorities reported at least 4 deaths and a fire at the government headquarters. Russia, however, claimed its attacks targeted military-industrial complexes and transportation infrastructure only.
Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba has announced his resignation less than a year after taking office. His decision could plunge Japan into political and financial instability as the world's 4th largest economy faces mounting challenges.
Speaking at a press conference, Mr. Ishiba said he would step down as both Prime Minister and leader of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party, LDP. His decision follows increasing pressure to take responsibility for a series of election defeats, especially after the LDP and its coalition partner, Komeito, lost control of the upper house. There are currently no candidates expected to maintain fiscal discipline as he did. Mr. Ishiba's resignation put pressure on the yen and is expected to cause high volatility in the Tokyo stock market. Japanese government bonds are also at risk of a sell-off. Experts warn that if the market instability isn't controlled, Japan could face prolonged macroeconomic risks.
At the September 2025 legislative session held on the morning of September 8th, Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính just urged ministries and agencies to review and cut at least 30% of administrative procedures, time, and compliance costs to ease the burdens on citizens and businesses.
Speaking at the session, Prime Minister emphasized the need for strong, decisive implementation of legal and institutional reform to drive fast and sustainable national development, aiming to realize 2 centennial strategic goals. Emphasizing the principles of lawmaking, the Prime Minister proposed that new laws should be concise, address specific issues directly, and ensure legal stability. Particular attention should be given to decentralization, along with resource allocation and robust monitoring. Thus, the Prime Minister called for a reduction of 30% in procedures, time and compliance costs to reduce input burdens for citizens and businesses.
Upcoming are some updated news.
The exhibition of 80 Years, Journey of Independence, Freedom, Happiness, held at the National Exhibition and Fair Center in Dong An Commune, Hanoi City, has become a special highlight during the 80th National Day celebration. According to statistics from the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism, from August 28th to September 5th, the exhibition attracted nearly 5 million visitors, a record-breaking number for any exhibition in Vietnam. This number is expected to increase as the national exhibition's popularity shows no sign of cooling down, with a large number of citizens and tourists still flocking to visit after the Prime Minister requested an extension until September 15th, 10 days longer than the original plan.
According to newly released data from the General Statistics Office of the Ministry of Finance, Nghệ An has climbed to 4th place nationwide in Industrial Production Index, IIP growth, for the first 8 months of 2025, up 2 ranks from the first 7 months of the year. The IIP increased by 16.4% overall, with August alone seeing a 19.54% year-over-year surge. This growth comes from both traditional sectors and a wave of new investments with large-scale projects going into operation. This is a crucial foundation for the province to continue its breakthrough, particularly in achieving its growth target of 9.5 to 10.5% this year.
Also, according to the General Statistics Office, Vietnam welcomed 13.9 million international tourists in the first 8 months of 2025, up 21.7% compared to the same period last year. In August alone, 1.68 million tourists arrived, an increase of nearly 8% from the previous month. This growth was driven by a favorable visa policy, effective tourism promotion, and nationwide celebrations. In terms of revenue, the travel and tourism sector earned VND 61,200 billion in the first 8 months, an increase of over 20%.
In the past, many agricultural and forestry products were sold in raw form with low value. Now, Nghệ An is taking active steps to secure raw materials and improve quality for the deep processing. This approach enhances product value, expands export markets, and promotes a sustainable development. More in the story today.
In 2022, Asia Hoa San Company invested in deep processing lines to meet European market demands. So far, it has developed over 100 hectares of organic cassava, certified for export to the U.S. In the first 8 months of 2025, the company exported its first batch to the U.S. and signed contracts with European partners for the 4th quarter. With a positive market outlook, the company aims to expand its raw material area to 3,000 hectares by 2028.
We have a specialized department focused on developing raw materials, targeting specific regions to build organic production zones for our operations. We hope authorities and agencies will work with us in developing clean and organic raw material zones.
Similarly, Angxi and Tea Development Company has developed over 50 hectares of organic tea and maintains sustainable purchasing contracts with farmers for over 4,000 hectares, helping to boosting its export markets. In the first 8 months alone, its export value rose nearly 40% compared to the same period last year.
We're working with local authorities and agricultural research centers to study soil and climate conditions to introduce new tea varieties that are drought and heat resistant with high yield and quality.
Currently, the province has over 25,000 hectares of sustainably certified forest and nearly 8,000 hectares of tea, yielding about 70,000 tons of fresh tea buds annually. Additionally, localities have established over 100 hectares of tea that meet VietGAP and organic standards, fulfilling deep processing requirements. Each year, the province allocates tens of billions of dong to enhance raw material value. Planning must be linked with processing facilities and raw material plants. At the same time, we need solutions to enhance the management of raw material zones and strengthen value chain linkages between raw material production and processing. With the right steps in developing raw material zones and promoting deep processing, Nghệ An is gradually increasing the value of its products. This not only raises incomes for local residents, but also offers a sustainable path for the province's manufacturing and processing industries to reach further into both domestic and international markets.
The last story descended our news today. Thank you so much for your attention. Goodbye for now.